Good evening, and welcome to this meeting of Westminster's Mayor and Common Council. The council meets here at City Hall on the second and fourth Mondays of every month. Please note that council meetings, although open to the public here at City Hall, are also available and streamed live on the city's YouTube page, as well as the Community Media Center channel and website. Now I'll begin as we do every meeting with the pledge of the flag, followed by a moment of silence. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. As a courtesy to everyone, please take a moment to silence your cell phones or any other electronic devices you may have with you that could disrupt the meeting. Thank you. Copies of tonight's agenda and the entire information packet that the council will be using are available on the city's website. Copies of the agenda for those who are here present in the meeting are available in the front of the room. The first item tonight is our quarterly presentation from Magic. And while the ghost of Graham Dodge is here, we're pleased to have Kim Samuelson, the new interim director of Magic, to make the presentation.
Let's see where they come.
One second.
You're fine. Good evening. Just want to introduce myself to everyone. I'm Kim Samuelson. I'm the new executive director, following in the shadow of Graham as he goes on. I'm the new executive director, but I'm not new to Magic. I've been with the organization for over 6 years. I have over 30 years of technology experience. That's what I did before I semi-retired to stay home with my kids. So I worked in a lot of fields: networking, system administration, employee training. So all of those things added up to my new world after raising my children. So I found the opportunity to pay forward to an organization. And then I also found a passion for working to elevate my community. I was never really involved in communities before I started with this organization. So
What the IBM 8088 machine?
yes, did you notice that? I was everybody noticed. I know I'm dating myself. But I fell in love with that the first moment I saw it. I said, this is what I'm going to do when I grow up.
First computer I ever touched.
So for those of you who don't know who Magic is, we are a local organization and we do technology-driven economic development for Westminster. We try to bring infrastructure into our community to reverse the flow of commuters, net positive job growth. We work a lot with technology education, entrepreneurships. So this is how we do that. We pull in resources from our industry, mentors, from students and workforce, sponsors, funding, and then we funnel that out into economic development, workforce development, angel investing, and startup accelerations. So we had a good fourth quarter. We did a couple of things. This is our slow season. So we did a CTF 16, which is a capture the flag cybersecurity competition. We started our summer edition of Good Game on Main. We did our new season of Spire Girl kickoffs. We did a first Lego League, if anybody's familiar with the first competitions. We did an expo at ARIC, which was a major success. We worked with various schools. We did a West Middle game night. We were awarded our second TEDCO grant for the Makerspace. Flower and Jazz Festival was a success for us this year. We brought in a lot of interested people. We talked to a lot of people, which was a net product of volunteers and additional students that came in and did our different events that we had. We hosted a concert at ARIC, which was phenomenal. If anybody was there, who knew that the acoustics in that location was great. So, and then we did our first Angel Network dinner. We have another one scheduled for fall, and then Startup Week. We did an Immigrants in Perspectives event at McDaniel College, a rural Tech Connect networking event. So, and these are some of the metrics that we did. Third and fourth quarter for us is a kind of a smaller, laid back version of quarters. It's when we do a lot of our planning for our fall and spring semesters. So we had 3 sponsorships for fourth quarter. We did bring in $25,000. What did I say? Yes, $25,000 or $2,500 for our revenue for our sponsors. We did submit some grants. We did receive 1 grant, which was from TEDCO for $25,000. We had about 16 volunteers work with our various events during the summer, and then we were in 1 publication. Any questions about the numbers? So we hosted our first FLL Expo at ARC. We had 40+ students participate. We had over 70 spectators, so that was a net total of over 100 people in that location that day, and it was great. Now the FLL is for students ages 6 to 11. So we had a lot of cool kids in there that day. Yes.
Just a quick question, the FLL, are those Carroll County residents? Are they from outside the county?
There were some from outside of the county. I would say probably 3/4 were from in-county, Kingsburg, Eldersburg area. We did have some students in from Frederick, some in from Howard County. And I believe we even had a couple of teams that came in from Hanover, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Successful conclusion to our first middle school robotics program. This was a new class that we put in the fall. We had 10 students sign up. I was the instructor for that, so that's why we only had 10 middle schoolers. But from beginning to end, we ended with 10 students. They all stayed. Now, this was a 24-week class.
Wow.
And we had those kids show up every weekend.
It was on Saturdays.
And it was Saturday mornings for 2 hours every Saturday, yes. So they came, they saw, they built, they had a great time. They're waiting to come back for more. We did our CTF. We had over 122 participants, about 34 teams through 3 countries. We actually had Ireland participate this year. Now they were a team, they were teams that actually participated in our Capture the Flag 8 back in 2018-ish. So they've come back. We also had Dominican Republic, which was at 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. They actually were referred to us by our Estonia partners. So it actually came around. They were the winners this time. It took them 3 CTFs, but they made it to the top. So they were all excited. And then what's ahead for Magic? We just started our Ghost Card project, which is our EV Ghost Card project that we're doing. That is taking go-karts and converting them to EV autonomous vehicles. And someday we will have Graham's Grand Prix on Main Street with them. We are also hosting a summer youth employment program with workforce development. We have 3 students in that program that are working with us. That goes through August. We are planning another concert. Funny enough, these concerts have turned into talks about starting a STEAM program, adding arts to the technology sector and what technologies are revolving around the music and audio industries. We are in talks with Carroll Tech Center and some local entrepreneurs that are interested in the whole process. So we'll see what comes out of that. We are also hosting 2 Lego Mindstorm robotics camps on the 17th and the 24th of August. We have CyberSip for our September. We are launching our Good Game on Main end of year summer event then. And then we, through generous funding through Ting, we are actually starting a new elementary robotics program starting in the fall. So that will be grades 3 through 5 that we will start bringing in as well. So hopefully all of these robotics have something in common so we can actually move them through the different programs. And hopefully they'll be able to come out with a great understanding. And that's it. That's what we're doing. Any questions?
Any questions from Ms. Anderson? Besides why Mr. Dodge is here?
Or I guess I forgot anything.
Well, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to have this report. Remain excited about the ways Magic has grown into its mission, and we appreciate the work you're doing as well as the great work Mr. Dot did. We're looking forward to him leveraging his new position to be even more focused.
I have them on speed though.
Thank you very much. We'll move on now to approval of the minutes. We have minutes from the meeting of the mayor and council on July 8th and the closed meeting of June 10th. We have a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Motion to approve.
Then motion by Mr. Dayhoff, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Huff. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have the ayes have it. And the minutes are approved. We have 5 items on the consent calendar this evening. We have a motion to approve the consent calendar.
So moved, Mr. President.
A motion by Mr. Cavacci, and I think it was a second by Ms. Gilbert. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it. The ayes have it. Consent calendar is approved. Reports from the mayor, Dr. Becker.
Hey, thank you, Mr. President. So, just a couple comments. It's been a pretty quiet the last 2 weeks. One of the items I'd like to report on is that I have been appointed to the Maryland Municipal League Engagement and Outreach Committee. There are 2 other council members who were also appointed to MML committees, but I don't want to steal their comments. But I will say congratulations on your appointments. And I also wanted to take this time to recognize our clerk, Mr. Barber, who will be chairing the Engagement and Outreach Committee for the Maryland Municipal League. And so that's quite an honor for Westminster to be represented so well this year. Just a little bit of information, if you might not know, the Maryland Municipal League is an organization that represents the 3 special tax districts and all 157 municipalities in the state. Their website states that MML engages and empowers all Maryland municipal elected officials and staff by ensuring that they have access to the advocacy, education, and information they need to provide the highest level of service to the residents of Maryland's cities and towns. Having been involved with MML for several years, I can vouch that the information that they provide at their conferences and throughout the year is indeed informative. And once again, I'm thrilled that Westminster is so well represented in this organization. Just a few quick things coming up. On this Saturday, July 27th, is a History Fest at the Carroll County Historical Society. From 11 a.m. until 4 p.m., you can enjoy festivities and learn about the history of Carroll County. The History Fest will be held on the campus of the Historical Society of Carroll County on Main Street at 210 East Main Street. I know I plan to be there for a little bit in the early afternoon. Outside of that, I've been busy responding to citizens' emails and comments, answering questions related to municipal services, getting out in the community, and visiting the downtown Westminster's Farmers Market, which is held every Saturday from 8 to noon until November 23rd. The last thing I wanted to draw attention to is the first Wednesday of August. On August 7th, downtown businesses will be open until 8 p.m. or later. I know the list of businesses is still in works. I believe there may also be a special visiting business or 2 as well. This is a new initiative to generate excitement and encourage residents and non-residents to visit Main Street and spend their weekday evening with us. These first Wednesdays will also be celebrated the first Wednesday in September and October. And that is all.
Very good. You can note that.
So August 7th.
Thank you very much, Mayor Becker. Move on now to committee reports. Again, as we always do with our liaison to the Arts Council, Mr. Dayhoff.
No report, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dayhoff. Economic and Community Development Committee, Mr. Huff.
No report tonight.
All right, thank you, Mr. Huff. Finance Committee, I have nothing to report tonight. The Finance Committee will be meeting later this week. Personnel Committee, nothing to report there as well. Public Safety, Mr. Cavacci.
I have a report, Mr. President.
I had a feeling you
Of
would.
course I do. During the week of July 8th through the 12th, Sergeant Tim DeLospedale participated in the annual Camp Cops outreach event. This event provides an opportunity for middle school age children to interact with local law enforcement, involving a variety of team building activities and skills. And it's a lot of fun for the kids. I know it's always very popular. Usually gets a nice article in the Times as well. Police Department hired 2 certified police officers. Officer Amy Hines will start on July 30th. She comes to the police department with about 4 years of policing experience from the city of York, Pennsylvania. Officer Ashley Hera will start on August 13th. She comes to Westminster Police Department with 7 years of policing experience from the city of Salisbury and Fruitland, Maryland. So Chief, great work. I love seeing the fact that we got a couple of females joining the force, and it's a really nice job on recruiting. I know our numbers are looking better. Sergeant Rick Lambert earned the 2024 Q2 Police Officer of the Quarter Award for stepping up in the Criminal Investigation Bureau while Captain Schuster attended the Northwestern School of Police Staff and Command, while also continuing to supervise and work investigations. So thank you, Sergeant Lambert, Detective Lambert, for that job well done. And Dispatcher Sarah Reed earned the 2024 Q2 Civilian Employee of the Quarter Award for strong performance and initiative in coordinating training for our dispatchers. In addition, Dispatcher Reed did an exceptional job receiving and dispatching a call from a child regarding an assault in progress. And they're always challenging and emotional. So please pass on our appreciation for a job well done to her as well, Chief. That concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kalashi. Public Works, Ms. Gilbert.
The fiscal year 2023 budget included the addition of 3 full-time employees to increase productivity throughout our streets department. 2 of these employees were allocated to street maintenance subdivision. Since this addition, we have significantly improved in almost all the areas. Storm drain maintenance is a large part of the crew's detail and was struggling to maintain the minimum requirements. Repairs were made only in emergency situations or prior to annual paving. Since the addition of our employees when they came aboard, we have now gone from 9 repairs in fiscal year 2022 to 32 repairs in fiscal year 2023 and 100 in fiscal year 2024. In addition, they cleaned 118 inlets in fiscal year 23, 250 in fiscal year 24, compared to 25 in fiscal year 2022. Road maintenance has also seen a noteworthy improvement. Filling potholes, cracks, sealing streets increases the integrity of our roadways and provides acceptable driving conditions for all of our citizens. Our crew has filled 263 potholes in the past 2 years compared to only 80 in 2022. There were no crack sealing performed in 2022, but we have since sealed over 5,400 linear feet. You're reading my notes here. Although there are also more improvements to be done, these numbers reflect the impact of the additional personnel that have been added to our department and the city as a whole. And hopefully by the end of the week, you'll see some lovely graphs sent to all of you via email. And that's all I have for streets maintenance, public works.
Thank you very much. Would you please report on Recreational Parks Committee as well?
I will. I'm gonna go with first a little personal note. I know many of you were here or remember we were talking about goat cuddling on our last council meeting.
We saw the pictures.
So I did, along with some coworkers, experience what goat cuddling actually was. I cuddled some adorably cute baby goats, 2 weeks old, with even the umbilical cord still attached to this little baby goat. It was adorable. So we thoroughly enjoyed it along with the rest of the people that attended the goat cuddling session. And I've been told that the next time you have a goat cuddling session, Ms. Gruber, that I need to know ahead of time to allow other employees to experience the delight, because it was obviously a grand de-stress activity. Not only did the little kids love it, but apparently big kids do too. So just wanted to share that. I'd do it again in a heartbeat.
Well, I know Mr. Kavachi is disappointed that he didn't take advantage of it.
I'm sure, I think Mr. Kavachi would love to come with you guys along with his grandchildren. There's
I'd love to watch my grandchildren.
I'm telling you, it was just adorable, like just to snuggle with those little fellas. And ladies. So that's on the goat cuddling. In addition, I wanted to highlight a couple items. Tomorrow is Tuesday and every Tuesday in July is Snowball Day. So 12 to 1 at Locust Lane is snowballs. Take any free class you want at the fitness center on July 24th and slide in the park. With hopefully there's no rain or no thunder or no lightning, but slide in the park will happen on Monday, July 29th from 10 to 12. That's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Gilbert. Technology committee, Mr. Taylor, anything?
I have no clue as to how I could follow up that.
I have a fair point, thank you.
Although
You go cuddle again.
we may want to take the opportunity to thank CloudStrike for keeping us free from viruses. You can't get a virus if your computer does not work. That'll be it, Mr. President. Thank you. A little bit of IT humor.
All right, we'll move on now to council comments and discussion. This is the opportunity for council members to share any thoughts or concerns they have on items that are not elsewhere on the agenda, and we'll begin with Mr. Kavachi.
Thanks, Mr. President. I do have one thing, just to be clear, I just want to make sure we were not affected.
No, we were not.
Right. I
That's my
don't want
knowledge.
anyone thinking that your comment meant that the city had an issue.
It did affect, okay.
Yeah, we did not.
It did affect, emergency services
That may be the case, but
for the
it
county.
dawned on me as you were saying, like, wait a minute, I didn't know
No,
we got hit.
to the best of my knowledge,
Okay.
no, I don't think we,
Yeah, got it.
I don't think we use CloudStrike.
So we were not affected by it, right?
It's in my report, we can give you.
No, that's right. All right, council comments and discussion. I had an opportunity to, as I have done now for, gosh, it's probably been 12, 13 years in a row. I spoke at Boise State, which if everyone doesn't know what Boise State is, each state has an event once a year. It's related, it's through the American Legion, and they bring in a bunch of high school, I think they're all juniors or seniors. Are they all juniors? And these kids are interested in government and how government functions, and they spend an entire week at this camp. It's up at McDaniel, learning all about how government functions. And I have, like I said, for about a dozen or so years now, I go up and speak on local government, local elected officials in their role in government. And I just find it is just awesome. And I walk away from that event. The reason I'm sharing it with you guys is, if there's ever any doubt in terms of where our youth is, these kids are unbelievable. Questions that they ask, I speak for about 20 minutes and then I answer questions for about 40. And we always run out of time. It always has to be cut off at the end of the hour. And there's always 20 more kids that have questions. And the questions they ask are absolutely mind-boggling. The depth of the questions, the understanding of what we do and how we do it, and then asking questions that are relevant about it is incredibly refreshing. I walk out of that event and I'm like, we're in good shape. These are some sharp young individuals. So anyway, I just thought I'd share that with you guys. It's something I really enjoy doing, and hopefully they get a little something out of it as well. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kavachi. Mr. Dayhoff.
Thank you, Mr. President. Last Saturday, I was privileged to provide the welcoming remarks for the 11th Air Cavalry Troop, the Black Horse Regiment. The Black Horse Regiment has been meeting on an annual basis since Vietnam. This is a group of veterans from Vietnam. I'm a member that they were scouts in Vietnam. And they had a really high casualty rate. And two friends of mine are on the Carroll County Vietnam Memorial. And they go all through the country and have a reunion and a memorial service. The last time they were in Westminster was 2011, and they did their memorial service on Saturday, last Saturday. It was well attended. We filled the grounds of the Carroll County Vietnam Memorial. And everybody really appreciated the hospitality that was provided by the city of Westminster. That'll be my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Huff. Ms. Gilbert.
I originally had no comment, but the mayor opened the door for me to mention that I have been appointed to the MML 2025 Conference Planning Committee, so adding that to my to-do list in the next year. And I wanted to remind everyone, August 6th is that Neighbors Night Out, so National Night Out. So pay attention to social media, to the locations, and hopefully the chief will maybe mention some of the locations this evening, because I don't want to misspeak, because I'm not sure I have all of them down. But I just wanted to remind everybody of the event.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Huff.
To fill in the blank, I am been reappointed to the Maryland Municipal League Legislative Committee. And as the mayor mentioned, it is pretty impressive because there are only 3 committees with less than a total of like 60 members. And there's 4 people in this room that are on that committee, and we have 160 municipalities throughout the state. So I think that's pretty impressive. Speaking of the Maryland Municipal League, they're having a housing symposium on August the 1st. And I am actually one of the panelists for one of the sessions. And that's for the Maryland Accessory Dwelling Unit Task Force. We're doing a panel regarding the final report. I'm on there along with Delegate Baum Stewart, Senator Mary Washington, and Amy Mordock, who was also on the task force with me. She's the planning director of Queen Anne's County. So maybe I'll see some of you down there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Huff, and I think don't want to leave the MML topic go without mentioning also that our city attorney is the department representative for all the municipal attorneys, so we are well represented. You know, we all know that our city clerk is the guru of all the city clerks.
City clerk guru.
When we go to the conference, they all fall on around. It's true. It is true. It's true.
It's true.
We'll move on now to the bids. We have 4 items on the bids this evening. First item is approval to purchase a pickup truck Ford 350 from Apple Ford located at 8899 Stanford Boulevard, Columbia, Maryland, under Baltimore County Government Contract 0004504, and a total cost of $83,285. Ms. Imhoff.
Thank you, sir. The city's adopted fiscal year 25 capital budget allocates funding for the replacement of trucks and equipment. This proposed purchase is for a replacement of an existing pickup truck. The requested utility vehicle is available by, as you mentioned, an existing contract with Baltimore County and Apple Ford. Westminster's procurement code allows the city to piggyback on this competitively awarded contract. The vehicle being purchased is a Ford F-350. The cost of the unit is $83,285, inclusive of all the selected options. The fiscal year 25 budget for this project is $85,000. Staff recommends that the mayor and common council approve the bid to purchase a pickup truck with Apple Ford under the Baltimore County contract in the amount of $83,285. And that concludes the report, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you very much. Well, I'm not Mr. Mayor. I'm not.
Sorry, Mr. President.
Nor do I have any desire to be the mayor. I pray nightly. Dr. Becker's good health.
She doesn't have an announcement or anything.
I feel like I should say something.
It's been a busy week, I know, right? We're gonna move on.
I apologize.
I know. May I have a motion to approve purchase of the pickup truck?
I'll move to purchase the pickup truck, Mr. President.
The motion by Mr. Kavachi, is there a second?
I'll second.
The second by Mr. Hoff. Any discussion or any questions?
I have a curiosity question.
You did not drive the truck.
So I just wanted to get a sense, when we piggyback on these government contracts, like for example, Baltimore County, generally, how much of a discount is that giving us? Like if I went there to purchase that myself, Do you have any sense of that or not really?
I don't, because we didn't do that research to see what it was on the market, because it's available under contract. It's always cheaper under the piggyback than it is off the lot. It's also available usually under the piggyback, whereas if you buy it off the lot brand new, it might not actually be on the lot. You might have to order it and it comes in 6 months later.
Okay, so you don't have any exact sense, but it's obviously cheaper than what I could go in and purchase the vehicle.
Mr. President, I could
Yeah.
respond on that. So I happen to drive a Ford F-350 pickup truck. Mine is 22 years old and rusted and falling apart. I just went and looked at a replacement one, and I will be continuing to drive that truck. They're about 95 to 100 grand.
Okay.
The ones that I looked at, so as you can see, we're paying significant.
You get a significant
Just
discount.
looked at that
Okay,
a
good.
couple weeks ago.
Okay, thank you.
Gonna put some money into the truck that I already own.
Thank you for having that answer.
Yeah, that's true. Done.
Any further comments or questions? Hearing none, move on to a vote. All those in favor of approving the bid, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it, the ayes have it, and the bid is approved. Second item is another truck. Approval to purchase a pickup truck, a Ford Ranger from Apple Ford, located at the same address under Baltimore County Government Contract 0004504 at a total cost of $44,975.30. Ms. Imhoff.
Thank you. The city's adopted fiscal year 25 capital budget allocates funding for the replacement of trucks and vehicles, as I mentioned. The vehicle requested is available under the same contract as the last contract we mentioned. The vehicle being purchased is a Ford Ranger. The cost of the vehicle is $44,975.30, inclusive of all selective options. The fiscal year 25 budget for this project allocated $45,000. Staff recommends that the mayor and common council approve the bid for the purpose of a pickup truck from Apple Ford under the Baltimore County contract in the amount of $44,975.30. That concludes the report.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Imhoff. May I have a motion to approve the bid?
Motion to approve.
A motion by Mr. Dayhoff. Is there a second?
Second.
A second by Mr. Hawk. Any discussion or any questions? Hearing none, move on to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it, the ayes have it, and the bid is approved. Next item is approval to waive the competitive procurement for good cause under the City of Westminster Code, Chapter 36, Procurement and Contracts, subsection 36-4, specific regulations, and authorize the purchase of a mini excavator from Metro Bobcat in the amount of $74,363.80. Ms. Imhoff, I presume this is still you.
This is still me. It's gonna keep going here. As I mentioned, the city's fiscal year 25 capital budget includes funding for replacement of trucks and equipment. This particular item is for a piece of equipment that's available on an existing source well contract. So this is like a bid, but instead of being publicly procured, you have to participate in source well in order to get these procurements. And because of that, the city attorneys determined that we would need to waive the procurement requirements to participate in the source well contract, but it is a bidded contract, which is why we've got it under bid. Westminster Procurement Code allows the city to use this competitively awarded contract through the source well program. Maybe competitively is not exactly the right word, but this bidded contract. The equipment that's being purchased is a Bobcat E55 R2 series Bobcat compact excavator in the amount of $74,363.80. We anticipated that this would cost us $115,000, so we're getting a significant reduction in cost by using the source well contract, and therefore staff recommends that the mayor and common council authorize to waive the competitive bid requirements or replacement of a mini excavator from Metro Bobcat of Eldersburg in the total amount of $74,363.80. That concludes the report.
Thank you, Ms. Imhoff. We have a motion to approve, the waiver.
I'll make a motion.
Competitive procurement.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Hoff and a second by Mr. Kalachi. Any discussion?
I do have a question.
Mr. Hoff.
I just want to get a better sense, because I think we've talked about it before. Sourcewell how does that exactly work? It's like an electronic marketplace that you say, hey, I'm looking for X, and then you receive multiple bids on that. Is that correct?
Do you want to answer that question?
So the way Sourcewell works, if you're a dealer, you pay into the system, you get into the Sourcewell, you put your best prices in there for your mini excavator, Bobcat, whatever the equipment happens to be. Then that goes over the country, so people can say, okay, well, Dan's got the best deal on a skid loader, and we can get it from them. It's like kind of like a pre-bidding kind of a process there. You're putting in your best price. Everybody is that puts it in there, and then people can select.
So we're in the case of this one and the other one that's coming up, we look for the specific equipment we're looking for, and then we're selecting the one that's the cheapest out of those.
Yeah, because they might not have the mini that you're looking for. They might, they might not. So you're kind of looking around, you're looking at the other counties, like Baltimore County. What did they do for their getting some of their equipment? You still kind of have to look around.
So even though it's not what we think of as a traditional bid, there's still a lot of background going in there to make sure that we're getting a good price.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
No, I just wanted the reason that I've asked them to do a bid waiver as opposed to just a straight piggyback is that Sourcewell and other cooperative bidding entities like that collect a fee from the participants. So there's a certain amount of money that's built into a bid that in theory is like excess money that if you bid it yourself wouldn't be in there. But generally speaking, you end up with a better price anyway because of the enormous reach that these cooperatives have. But technically, it's not 100% commensurate with your own bidding procedures because there's a little bit of that built into that for the fee to the entity that's leading the bids. I believe now there's also a fee even if you piggyback on a lot of state contracts. So it's sort of becoming that thing, and there won't be much avoiding that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Land. Any further questions or discussion?
Just one comment, Mr.
Mr. Klein,
President.
yes.
I just want to be clear, we're approving the waiver, but we are also authorizing the purchase at the same time, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Does the language need to be different, or is this?
No, it's
Okay. Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, okay.
So hearing no further questions, comments, move on to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. I seem to have it, the ayes have it. And the competitive procurement is waived for good cause, and the purchase is approved. Move on now to item B, approval to waive the competitive procurement for good cause under the City of Westminster Code, Chapter 36, procurement and contracts, subsection 36-4, specific regulation, and authorize the purchase of a forklift from Atlantic Truck Lifts Incorporated in the total amount of $33,342.29. Ms. Impulse.
Thank you, sir. The city's adopted fiscal year 25 capital budget allocates funding for the replacement of trucks and equipment. The requested piece of equipment is available by an existing Sourcewell contract through Atlantic Lift Truck Inc., which is located in Baltimore. The city's procurement code allows the city to use this competitively awarded contract over the Sourcewell program. The equipment being purchased is a Mitsubishi pneumatic tire forklift. Further information is available in the packet. The cost of the unit is $33,342.29, inclusive of all the selected options. Fiscal year 25 capital budget included $35,000 for this project. Staff recommends that the mayor and common council approve to waive the competitive bid requirements and authorize the purchase of the forklift from Atlantic Truck Lift in a total amount of $33,342.29. That concludes the report.
Thank you, Ms. Imhoff. May I have a motion to approve the waiver and authorize the purchase?
So moved, Mr. President.
The motion by Mr. Kavachi and a second by Ms. Gilbert. All those in favor of, any discussion or questions?
Mr. President,
Ms. Gilbert.
I just have a comment on, basically a thank you, because between these last two bids, using, Sourcewell, we've saved the city $42,000.
Yeah.
So that's a thank you to those that worked at doing this, so that's great.
This is why Ms. Imhoff brought this source to us in the first place. Thank you. Mayor Becker.
Just a note for the record, the memo for the forklift under the background, and I think maybe Ms. Impulse had caught that or might be caught later. It says the proposed purchases for replacement mini excavator. And not a forklift.
See,
So that will be featured, but it is a forklift. That'll be featured.
We're approving the forklift.
it just had the sentence from the prior.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else? Hearing no further discussion? You ready for the vote? All those in favor of approval of the waiver and authorization of the purchase, please say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. The ayes see now, the ayes have it. And thank you. Next item is ordinances and resolutions. We have two items here, and I'm very pleased that we're at the point where we're doing these for you tonight after a lot of good work by the staff, attorneys, and also by my colleagues on the council who have worked over the details of this over a period of many months. And so we're very pleased to be able to do this evening. So the first item is introduction of Charter Amendment Resolution 24-02, a charter amendment resolution of the Mayor and Common Council of the City of Westminster concerning the single subject elections. To amend the Charter of the City of Westminster, Section 3, qualifications for an election of Mayor and Common Council, notifications of those elected, to repeal Section 3.1, absentee registration and ballot for members of the armed forces, and to enact Section 3.1 as registration of voters, to repeal Section 4, Board of Registration of Voters, appointing a term of office, and to enact Section 4, Regulations and Control, to repeal Section 5, same form and procedure for registration of votes, cancellation of registration, and to repeal Section 5.1, absentee registration of ballots for physically disabled voters and others, and to enact Section 5.1 as absentee voting, to amend Section 6, tie elections for mayor and councilman, refusal to serve and other disqualifications, filling vacancies, and amending Section 7, oaths of office, all city officers, common council, judge of qualifications, mayor and councilman. Mr. Barber.
Yes, thank you. We're gonna put these two pieces of legislation, they're gonna kind of go together and as in a package. As you noted, this has been a long process that everyone in this room has been a part of it. We've all been in many meetings and we've looked at this legislation. We've done it from the beginning to the end of the charter that affects the ordinance and the code. So we should be very proud of ourselves for that, going through that process and looking at that in so much in detail. I think that it's been in my honor with my 20 years of experience with elections to be a part of a process that you know that you have put your hands on and made those changes. So everyone in this room should be very proud that that's something that you don't always get to do as elected officials or even the staff. So very proud to be a part of that process. And like we said, it's a true partnership. We've had input from our Board of Elections, election judges, and you as the Mayor and Common Council to make these changes. And our legal team, we could not have done that without everyone in the room. So with that, I can't say anything more than what Council President said with the introduction of the charter amendment.
Right, thank you. Let's get this before us formally. May I have a motion on introduction of the charter amendment?
So moved, Mr. President.
A motion by Mr. Kavachi, is there a second? Second. The second by Ms. Gilbert. Any questions or comments from anyone? Mayor Becker.
Just a brief echo of both President Pecorari's and Mr. Barber's comments. That, you know, we met multiple evenings across the last 7 months, 8 months working on this. And it came together in a way that I think that, you know, we're all very proud of at the end. And Mr. Barber, thank you for keeping us on the straight and narrow as we went through this, and being phenomenally organized as we went through this project. And to our attorneys, Mrs. Levin and Mrs. Ruff, who also led us through this process. So just want to say thank you, and I'm looking forward to seeing this move through.
Thank you, Mayor. Anyone else?
Mr. President, I guess, you know, we all know this, and I'm gonna state what we kind of already know, but there are people watching that pay attention to these meetings. And I think it's important that we talk briefly about what we did. This is a generational piece of legislation in that you see over years and years, you make changes, you make modifications, you delete things, you add things, but then your ordinances and your charters start getting out of whack. And what happens is over you know, a long period of time, some of these things didn't apply that we changed. Some of them were no longer the way that they're done traditionally in today's day and age. And I think it's important to understand that what we did is we spent a tremendous amount of time and effort literally reviewing every single word of lots of documents to make sure that they coincide and that it gives future mayor and councils the opportunity to have good, clean, open elections that can't be questioned. We've cleaned things up to the point where it becomes a process that I think is just a much cleaner, open process that puts us in a lot better footing, not just for us, but really for future mayor and councils. And I think it's important to understand that, because when you start talking about, well, what are we doing in terms of changing election stuff? Well, that's what we're doing. We're cleaning up a lot of years of things getting just kind of messy, and now it's a nice, clean, understandable, easy to read document. When people need to look at, well, how does the city of Westminster elect their representatives? So.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Clutty. Absolutely right. Ms. Ingalls, I think you wanted to say something?
I do. I just wanted to take a moment to thank the election board and the election judges. We asked them to weigh in on this early on in the process, which isn't a requirement, but they provide valuable insight on how the last election went, and many of them have been involved in many elections. That's a group of people that isn't in front of us that often, don't necessarily get a chance to be thanked except for the day of the election, but they provided valuable feedback. So I want to take a moment to thank them. And then, of course, I would be remiss to not also to echo your comments and thank our city clerk. This is a very big undertaking. And as the mayor indicated, Mr. Barber's done an excellent job to coordinate with all those entities and with you. So thank you, Mr. Barber, as well.
Anyone else? Mr. Barber, before we take a vote on this, could you just, this is a charter amendment, the first item. So could you just, it's a little different than what we normally do with ordinances. You just outline, you know, what the process is from here in terms of, you know, publication and public notice, things like that.
Yes, sir. So we're introducing tonight, then we will have a notice for notice will go in the paper for a public hearing, which would have to be 21 days prior. So we're looking at the end of August for our public hearing and adoption of our charter amendment. Then it will go, once we have the public hearing and we adopt the charter amendment, then it's a fair summary will be provided in the paper for 4 weeks interim. And that for 40 days, it's posted in our city at the city administration building. And then after 50 days, it becomes enacted. So we're looking at the middle of October for this to become enacted. And as we noted earlier, that the ordinance will also come into play. Usually ordinances are adopted right away. Our ordinance that we're going to be talking about next will be adopted along with this charter amendment and become effective the date after the charter amendment become enacted. That's clear.
Thank you, Mr. Barber. All right, so hearing no further discussion, we want to vote on introduction of the charter amendment. All those in favor of introduction, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have, the ayes have it, and the charter amendment is introduced, and as Mr. Barber laid out, will come back to us. Thank you. Next item is introduction of ordinance 2024-07, an ordinance amending chapter 4, administration of government, of the code of the city of Westminster, to repeal section 4-6, authorization, empowerment, membership, elections, terms, qualifications, and section 4-6.1, filling council vacancies, as these issues are addressed in chapter 14, elections of the city code, and amending chapter 14, elections of the code of the city of Westminster, to align the provisions of chapter 14 with the city charter, to enhance the efficiency of the conduct of the city elections, to change references from the city clerk to the clerk of elections, to clarify when declarations of candidacy may be filed, providing qualifications for members of the Board of Elections, judges of election, and campaign treasurers, to incorporate the process for absentee voting, and providing a complaint procedure to provide for filling vacancies in the Common Council, to delete certain obsolete provisions, and to make other changes of a housekeeping nature. Mr. Barber.
So before you, you have the introduction of ordinance 2024-07, chapter 14, elections. As we noted before, previously in the charter amendment, the adoption of the ordinance will follow the same timeline as your charter amendment. And again, team effort with everyone, as we noted before, Board of Elections and our election judges came forward after the election of 2023 and really provided some insight as well to start us on the process of changing and looking at our election code. Then with Mayor and Common Council, the attorneys, and city clerk and myself, making those recommendations. It's a bigger document. There's a lot of codes in chapter 14, a lot of sections that we went through in depth. And I think before you, the recommendation for this ordinance is, I'm excited to see it go forward. That's all I have.
Mr. President,
Ms. Imhoff.
I'd like to note on the agenda, there's a typo at the very first sentence. Just as Mr. Barber indicated, we're amending chapter 14. The first sentence of the agenda says chapter 4. Before you take an introduction, let's make sure everyone's clear that we're amending chapter 14.
All right, so without objection, my reading will be amended to reflect it was chapter 14. Thank you.
Mr. President, I'll move to introduce ordinance 2024-07 as amended.
All right.
Second.
Thank you. As mentioned by Mr. Kavachi and a second by Mr. Hoff. Any further discussion or any questions? All right, hearing none, we'll do a vote. All those in favor of introduction?
Excuse me, President.
Yes.
I'm gonna check that too, amending chapter 4, because I think there's a chapter 4 in the code. Sarah, so I don't know if that's a correction or not.
It's repealing chapter 4.
Okay, I just wanna make sure thanks, Sarah. So it's just,
So maybe we should retake the motion.
Well, the motion is to amend it to chapter 14 instead of saying chapter 4.
But are we saying it should be chapter 4 now?
It should be chapter 14, correct?
Okay.
It's repealing
So-
chapter 4.
So the code, so the ordinance text itself says amending chapter 4, administration of government. It says as these issues are addressed in chapter 14,
Right.
elections of the city code. So I think I did not misspeak. Or it's not.
Correct.
Correct.
I think that,
So it does not need to be amended.
it does not, right,
No,
exactly,
it's not.
that's,
And I will withdraw my motion, Mr. President. And if you'll allow me to make a new motion,
Please do.
I'll move to introduce ordinance 2024-07.
All right. The motion to introduce ordinance 2024-07,
I'll second.
and there's a second by Mr. Hoff. Any further discussion or comments?
Does that work, Mr. Barber?
yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Hearing no further discussion, we'll move on to a vote. And again, this is for introduction only, and we will be doing further consideration of this on the lengthy timeline described by Mr. Barlow for the previous item. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it, the ayes have it. And again, this will be back to us in the course of time. There is no unfinished business of which I'm aware. Does anybody have any? To remind ourselves. Hearing none, we'll move on to new business. Mr. Kamachi.
Mr. President, I'd like to move that we go into a closed meeting. The motion is that I move the common council adjourn to a closed meeting at the conclusion of the meeting of July 22nd, 2024, in accordance with the general provisions article of the annotated code of Maryland 3-305B subsection 1 to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointed employees or officials over whom this public body has jurisdiction, any other personnel matters that affect one or more specific individuals, and subsection B, subsection 7, to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Kamachi. May is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Hoff. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it, the ayes have it. And the motion is adopted. We will go into a closed meeting at the conclusion of this regular meeting. Next item is departmental reports. Ms. Imhoff, would you like to lead us through all the department heads?
I would, thank you. I'm gonna start off with myself, if I could. It seems like the word of the summer is partnership. So we're gonna focus on that a little bit. I want to thank the council for your hard work in putting together the election legislation that you just introduced. As Councilmember Kavachi mentioned, this is what I like to call legacy work, really setting the stage so that future staff members, future election board members, future election judges have very clear marching orders as to what the council expects of them and how to run the elections. And that took a lot of time and a lot of effort. And I really appreciate the partnership that you've given to us and that the election board and judges has as well. I was glad to hear Councilmember Gilbert mention the significance of some of the budget decisions that you made over the last couple of years, and that we've been able to increase the level of service that the public receives from the staff. So we want to thank you for your efforts in that. And then my final item on the partnership conversation has to do with the significance of the ability for the staff to waive the procurement requirements, specifically for the Sourcewell contracts, as Councilmember Gilbert mentioned. Tonight alone, we've saved the city $47,000, which is significant. We can do a lot with that level of money. So thank you for continuing to provide us with additional tools for our tool belt, so that we can save taxpayer funding and maximize the use of those funds. Does anyone have any questions or comments on that before I move on to departments? We'll start, as we often do, with Recreation and Parks Department and their cuddly goats.
Yes, good evening. Well, while some of you were cuddling goats, I was embracing 6 new treadmills on the same day. And I would just like to thank the council for providing the funding for that very important replacement. Our treadmills that we recently decommissioned at the Westminster Family Fitness Center were purchased way back in 2013. So they served us well, and they were starting to wear out. So we were able to provide our members with 6 brand new treadmills that did arrive on the 11th, as I said, the same day goat cuddling was going on. So I didn't even get to see those very little sweet things in the back of the park, but all is well. Also, since the time of our last meeting, we were scheduled to have our Ninja Warrior Challenge, and sadly, we were staring down what looked to be a very threatening forecast for the day, and then turned out to not be as severe as we thought, but we had already had to make the hard decision to cancel that event. So Ninja Warrior Challenge this summer did not happen, and hopefully we'll be able to welcome that event back next July. We did actually try to hold our free magic comedy and circus show, and that ended abruptly because we did get severe weather that they weren't forecasting. So our first show, we got in at 4:30 and it was cut a little bit short because we kept watching the sky grow darker and darker. So we didn't get our 6 p.m. show in, and consequently we lost 5 tents that the weather just mangled, but that's okay. And then we also rounded out last week on Thursday with our Adaptive Rec Park Palooza. And this is where we welcomed a population of adults with disabilities into City Park for the day, and to team on Miss Impulse's partnership theme. We partnered with Philly Live. He provided karaoke and entertainment for us during the day. We also partnered with Flourish Salon, who did fairy hair for us. We had a face painter and some other really remarkable and fun activities during that event. And then lastly, on Friday, we hosted our Splash and Dash at the community pool, where almost 50 registrants challenged themselves from anywhere from a 25-meter swim to a 225-meter swim before getting out of the pool to transition to the running event, which was a hilly 1-mile course around the Westminster Municipal Pool Complex. So we are having a great time celebrating Recreation and Parks Month, and we do thank you for your continued support for these community events. And that ends my report, unless there are questions.
Is the run as challenging as the 25K?
Just a little more.
Hearing no further questions, we will move on to the technology department. Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Mr. House. Glad to be back. Missed everybody. Just want to highlight tonight, we were talking about the CrowdStrike and discover that. So we do not use CrowdStrike. I can't say we were completely unaffected because we use other entities that were. This did affect everyone from Microsoft to the federal government, state, local. It affected everybody. A lot of people use that product. So while we were not affected, this was a good opportunity for us to discuss how would we get out of this in a disaster recovery. This is not an easy fix for a lot of companies, a lot of organizations, and a lot of them are still trying to recover. It depends if they can get into their systems to get the keys they need to unlock things. So definitely a scary thing. Come to find out, there was also some bad code in addition to a bad update that it was the catalyst that caused it to happen. So I saw everything from MRI machines blue screening to ATMs, grocery stores. Of course, the airlines were mostly affected. It was everywhere. So it was just a very bad week for a lot of people, and they're still trying to recover. So, definitely thoughts are with them, and we're learning from this as well. So that's my report. Unless you have any questions.
Pretty brutal week for their stock, or day for their stock price today.
It really was.
Glad I didn't have a position.
Hearing no additional questions, we can move on to the Human Resources Department. Mr. Barrett.
Thank you, Sim Halls. Just wanted to let the council know that the HR team is laser line focused on our fiscal year.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the Human Resources Department? Hearing none, we'll move on to the Housing Department. Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Ms. I have nothing to report this week.
Okay. Do we have any questions for the Housing Director? Hearing none, we'll move on to the Planning Department. Mr. Depot.
Thank you. On July 17th, the city partnered. I put that wording down prior to the discussion of Mr. but it worked perfectly in. The city partnered with Bartlett Tree Experts for a beneficial insect release. Kids from the city's camp attended the event and learned about ladybugs during an outdoor presentation and helped release 27,000 ladybugs into the bushes and trees outside City Hall. So right outside, you notice ladybugs, 27,000.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you. On July 18th, the Planning and Zoning Commission introduced an amendment to the Wakefield Valley Development Plan. And this is again proposing to construct 25 single-family detached dwellings on 38 acres and dedicate 16 acres to Carroll Lutheran Village. The commission requested that they did introduce the amendment to move it forward, and the commission requested that staff work with the applicant to schedule a future public hearing. They also reviewed the McDaniel Overlook preliminary subdivision plan. This was a 4-lot subdivision for 4 single-family detached dwellings. The commission continued that application. They had a lot of very good comments and concerns about the design, so that will be coming back to the Planning and Zoning Commission. They did approve sign permit 1959, allowing a sign greater than 64 square feet but less than 125 square feet for 1101 Business Parkway. And this is more of a center type of sign that provides multiple panels for all the businesses there that can actually be viewed from 97. And that completes my report. I'm available for any questions.
Are there any questions for Mr. Pipa?
More of a comment. I just kind of want to piggyback a couple things related to planning commission, which of course I'm on as the ex officio. Lately, over the past probably 6 months, I would say, we have been doing, when projects are coming to us, we're doing more introductions and concepts, which allows the planning commission to interact a little bit more directly with the developer up front. So I think that's a really good thing because it allows there to be more interaction between the planning commission and the developer before they start bringing a final project, and just more collaboration all the way around. And I think what that'll do is we'll end up with some nicer, more attractive looking projects in the big scheme of things. I know the Willows came to us, we gave them some really good comments. I think they're going to be coming back to us here within the next month or two. And then also, I just want to comment, I think the director and myself have been really pleased with Mr. Baird on the of the commission, and Jay Voigt now. I will say some of the conversations that we're having at planning and zoning are of a quality that wasn't happening when I was first on 3 years ago. And I think the staff is appreciating that because it kind of gives you better feedback as well. So I think we're really headed in the right direction, which is important because I think as time goes on, we're going to have more, projects that are becoming our way, either redevelopment or whatever. And I kind of really think we're headed in the right direction with some of this stuff. So I commend everybody's effort in that regard. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Councilmember Huck. Any other questions for the planning director? Hearing none, we'll move on to the finance department. Ms. Rogers.
Thank you, Ms. Imhoff. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just wanted to report that the finance department, last week we had our auditors, SB and Company, which are based out of Owings Mills. They were on site at 45 West Main to perform the preliminary audit of the city's 6/30/24 fiscal year end financials. And during this process, they completed the majority of their testing for our single audit, focusing primarily on our housing program. They also reviewed all of our accounting processes, procedures, really to assess any changes for the prior year and to evaluate any deviations from those stated processes and procedures as they perform their testing. A lot of their other testing focused on payroll, cash disbursements and payables, and cash receipts. And they are tentatively planning to return in October for the final field work for June 30, 24 fiscal year end. And as such, the finance staff is working to prepare and do our closing process for the year. And that concludes my report.
Are there any questions for the finance director? Hearing none, we'll move on to the police department. Chief Ledwell.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This past Saturday morning, officers partnered with Westminster Walmart staff for the Stuff the Bus Back to School outreach event, which helps provide children in need with necessary school supplies for the upcoming school year. We also provided a cruiser for the children to tour. It was well attended. I had on my talking points to brief on National Night Out, which was said earlier, is Tuesday, August 6th. Some events begin earlier than others. I will be shooting out an email tomorrow with the particulars. I know I was told this year we're going to have 5 sites as opposed to 6. I believe CLB is not doing one this year, but I'm going to confirm that and I'll let you know tomorrow. Belgrove Square, Dutter's Park, South Hills Court, Mulligan Lane, and Bishop's Garth Apartments are the other sites that we typically have. So we'll send out the specifics, and then we'll be posting it on our social media. And that's all I have. Unless you have any questions.
Are there any questions for the police chief? Mr. President, that concludes the departmental reports.
All right, thank you very much. Moving on now to citizens' comments. And this is the opportunity for any citizens who are here with us tonight or watching us virtually to share their concerns with the ask that anybody who, for those who are watching us virtually, please send us your comments by email at comments@westminstermd.gov. Please include with that your name and address and phone number, and we will distribute all comments to Mayor and Council. I'd like to ask now, anybody who's with us present with us tonight, if you'd like to be heard, please state your name and address for the record. Anyone wish to be heard? Hearing no one, we will move on then to our final item, which is adjournment. That concludes our agenda and the meeting. And without objection, we are adjourned.